All right. How are all of you today? Come on. Give somebody next to you a high five. Tell them, let's get it on. Come on. I want to hear you. Let's get it on. All right. So this afternoon, we're going to talk about how to write, market, and persuade in a voice that is unmistakably you. And here's the thing. When we influence language, we influence thinking. Words have caused people to fly different airlines, shop at different stores, buy different clothes. And all of us who are in this room know the importance of words. How many of you work in a personal brand business where you're sharing expertise around the room? How many of you are sharing content online like Chris talked about this morning, right? How many of you guys realize the one thing you do every day in your business is actually write words, right? Whether it's an email, a tweet, anything, a video, whatever it is. And we have to understand that when we influence language, we influence thinking. Now, for me as a brand strategist, I look at brands through this lens. There's a brand identity, but there are three identities to every brand. There are three sub-identities. And each of these three things are like legs on a tripod. You miss one, it falls over. You miss one, it feels misaligned. Now, I'm an alliteration guy, you're going to quickly find, and it helps me actually remember things a little bit easier. And so these are in no particular order, but I put verbal first because that's what we're going to be talking about today. There is a verbal identity to your brand. It's the way that you write, and it's the way that you talk. Then there is, of course, a visual identity. Okay? And this is what we're most familiar with, what a brand looks like, what colors you use. Quick, what's the color of alter ego? You know, right? So we're familiar when it comes to branding with the visual identity of the brand. And of course, we understand there's a value identity to the brand. That is your positioning. And your positioning is simply where you sit relative to your competition. I use the example a lot. Are you Louis Vuitton or are you Walmart? Both companies make a lot of money, but they make it in very different ways. You all understand what I'm saying? Right? How many we got in here with Louis Vuitton people? All right? Like brand-wise, not you're wearing it. Well, maybe those of you who do wear it, you wear it proudly. I noticed that. Okay? All right? So the verbal identity of a brand is, of course, determined by copywriting. 90% of the problems that I see when a business is breaking down in their marketing, it's really a copy problem. It's what they're saying. It's how they're saying it. Now, if you were to ask me, well, Mike, you know, there are a lot of copywriters out there. There are a lot of people that teach marketing online. What makes you different? And Chris alluded to this just a little bit before when he was just kindly introducing me. And it would be this. If you ask me, what makes you different? How do you view marketing? It would be this. That marketing isn't about closing a sale, but it's about opening a relationship. We heard it this morning. Content marketing is really the only kind of marketing that's left. Any mature business owner, any mature marketer already knows this. Even what Matthew was just talking about a few minutes ago, writing an email that evokes emotion and attaches us to somebody. It's opening a relationship. How many caught the fact that Todd had Matthew Kimberly and then Michael Kim speak right back to back? Genius. There's something, I can hear him laughing in the background. All right? So marketing isn't about closing a sale. It's about opening a relationship. And all of us who have ever been in any kind of relationship, we know this. For any relationship to grow and thrive, you got to talk, right? You got to talk. Communication. So I love that I'm following what Matthew was sharing because he's telling you to actually email your list. You got to talk to people. You got to talk well. You got to speak well. You got to communicate well. Now, I know in my industry here, there are a lot of products out there now. Swipe files. Download this swipe file. Download the epic funnel that will make you millions of dollars, right? And a lot of us, we've become sick of them. Yes, yes. And we tend to think, well, this doesn't work because everyone's going to sound the same. Who's ever thought that? Y'all start to sound the same. Okay. So here's the thing. I'm just going to bust that myth. Actually, swipe copy does not make everyone sound the same. That is a myth. It's a myth that swipe copy makes everyone sound the same. The reality of swipe copy, written by copywriters like me and many other people who are much better than I am, the reality is that 90% of what works for you or works for others will work for you. But it's this that's the difference. It's the remaining 10%. It's the remaining 10%. And this is what I call, even though we're in sunny San Diego, special snowflake copy. Look at your neighbor and say, you are a special snowflake. All right? You're a special snowflake, okay? That is what sets you apart. And we're going to dig into this a little bit today. So you probably are wondering, okay, I buy a bunch of swipe files from some great copywriter or some lead magnet that I see online, and I incorporate this. How do I incorporate it? How do I differentiate myself, my business, my brand in copywriting? Okay, the first is actually context. It's context. And I'm going to share with you something here that I've coined the PB3. This is the personal brand 3. And these are 3 questions that we're actually going to work through this afternoon. The first question is, what pisses you off? And I'm using that question on purpose because I actually want to get to the heart of your emotion. What pisses you off? The second is what breaks your heart. The second is what breaks your heart. And the third question is what is the big problem you're trying to solve? And when you answer these questions, you will quickly find in the middle, where all 3 intersect, that is your brand messaging. It's just the PB3 framework, the personal brand 3. Every brand I've worked with, whether they're just starting out or making 8 or 9 figures a year, I've walked them through this. See, a lot of people will hire me to help them with their marketing because they'll think marketing leads to money. Right? We all played that game, right? Better marketing means more money. But what most people miss is that there's another word that precedes these 2 words, and it also starts with an M, because I'm an alliteration guy, and that word is movement. They are not aware of what kind of movement they're trying to start. It would be a disservice for me to call any religious or political figure in history a marketer. But how many of you know they use marketing? Martin Luther King probably had good marketers on his team. Yeah? Right? But it would be a disservice to call him a marketer. He was a leader of a movement. Jesus Christ, Buddha, you name it, any political religious figure, even brands have now become movement makers. Anyone wearing Tom's shoes? Right? Uber, disruptive brands, because they want to launch a movement. So we're going to dig into the PB3 a little bit today, but I want to give you a few more quick tips, and then I'm going to tell you about 5 types, just 5 types of personal brand voices that are out there so that you can actually see where your brand fits in. Now, another way that you can differentiate yourself in your copy is through catchphrases. Now, we're going to play a little game here. How many know who this is? Yeah, Marie Forleo. What's her catchphrase? Do you hear this? Do you hear? I mean, right here, this whole section of the room knows. Everything is figure-outable. This is Tony Robbins. What's his catchphrase? Come on, what's he do every time? I. Say I. Has anyone been to one of his events? Say I. He says like that, right? This is Marie Kondo. Who knows Marie Kondo is? What's her catchphrase? Does it spark joy? I was going to ask her out, but turns out she's married. Spark joy. It's the Asian thing, I guess. I don't know. All right? Who's this? Gary Vaynerchuk. What's his catchphrase? Every profanity in the English language is his catchphrase, right? So we see here, even in a few examples, that people actually have a verbal identity, and so do you if you're intentional about it. This is the one area of branding where people are not intentional in their verbal identity.